to ask you, like, I knew, I mean, my limited knowledge was of the studios at the time. It was always Golden Harvest. I know that sound. Shaw Brothers, of course, love it. But were there other companies that were in competition with those two? Those were the two major studios in Hong Kong at the time.
Okay, I'm not an expert on all things about the business of the companies, but there were literally dozens of companies. Golden Harvest was easily the biggest. Actually, Shaw had been inactive for some time. They still owned the studio space, and they would rent it out. Operation Condor, one of the bigger films I did, shot in the Shaw Brothers Studio space. Jackie had actually done a movie called Miracle, which is
It's a period piece.
Anita Moy.
Anita Moy, yeah, I remember that.
It's also known as, like, I think Mr. Canton and Lady Rose.
And Lady Rose, yes, again the names.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of that was filmed in Shaw Brothers Studios.
Okay.
But Shaw, as producers, had stopped during that era, to the best of my knowledge. There were a lot of other companies. There was D&B. In fact, I think we'll show a
Dixon
clip.
Poon, did he
Dixon
own?
Poon,
Oh.
Duck Bow. In fact, that was he. At one point, was the husband to Michelle Yeoh. And
Yeah,
got her
I was a
start.
little bit envious of that guy.
Yeah, and he's,
Wasn't he he was like a billionaire? Was he a real estate guy?
I don't know all his business doings, but I know he owned one of the major gold jewelry franchises.
Jeweler.
So he's got his fingers in a lot of businesses. But D&B was his big film company, and they did a couple films I worked in. There were a lot of companies. I mean, there were like really the big ones like Golden Harvest. There were much smaller ones. There was a company.
99% of the movies I saw at that period in that time, Golden Harvest, Shaw Brothers, or D&B.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes Golden Harvest would pick up small indies for distribution, right? But yeah, those were the big ones. But there were a lot of smaller ones. I worked for a company called IFD that used to take old movies and splice new footage in, and I did a lot of those. Yes,
Godfrey.
Well, actually, I worked for Godfrey, and he was one of the guys with IFD. But when I went to work for IFD, he wasn't working there anymore.
What was his deal? Okay,
Godfrey did low budget, right? He either did the movies you splice new footage into, or he did kind of low budget exploitation films.
I remember watching a ninja movie with Alexander Lorey, I think. There were 3 stars in that movie, 3 different stories, and he marketed. I hate to say it, the boxes and the not DVD, the VHS artwork boxwork. It was just so convincing because you're like, oh my God, the helicopters, and I see rockets shooting, and I'm thinking in my head as a young man, that's what I'm gonna see in the movies. And you get there, and there's none of that stuff. But we still watched it, right? But I got wise to it early, and I'm like, I'm not gonna watch those kind of movies. I was able to identify them and kind of stay around them.
Full disclosure, the Hong Kong filmmakers weren't the only ones that did that. I don't know if you know Roger Corman.
I've heard a little bit about him.
He's done a lot of low-budget stuff, and he started people like Jack Nicholson.
Was he big in the 70s, though, right? He was
60s, 70s.
60s,
He did
70s.
very exploitation, but there was a running joke one time. He had a book out that I read. It was really good, very informative. He's working with an editor, and they're cutting a new movie trailer, and he says, "Where's the exploding helicopter?" And the editor goes, "It's not in the movies." I don't care. Every one of my trailers has to have an exploding helicopter.
Like you guys, were you ever in a position where you like, I just want to work for the big studios, or you didn't really have much of a choice? You had to get in where you fit in.
You had to take the work when it comes.
Okay.
Right? It was feast or famine. There were times where I would work for months at a time.
What did you do in those times? Like,
well,
what did you do? What did you
I
guys?
saved my money. On occasion, I had to say, "Hey, can you send me some money?"
Mom, did you call? Who you call?
Well, the girlfriend of the time.
Oh, the guy. Okay, player. All right.
But,
the girlfriend is sending you breaking.
Yeah. But you know, if you're smart, you live frugal.
Mm-hmm.
There were a few guys who weren't smart about living frugal.
Living beyond your means, spending more than you bring in.
I lived in what was called a guest house for a good part of when I was there because I didn't.
What's
stay
a guest house?
Guest house is like they're mostly for tourists, but they'll have like a say an apartment that's subdivided into several rooms. They basically renovate it, and it's basically a room with a bed, a closet, a desk, a separate bathroom.
Yes.
A cheaper one would have no bathroom, use a communal bathroom. Right? It's one step up from a hostel.
Okay.
Okay, and a lot of us lived in places like that. There's a building that they actually made a movie about called Chongqing Mansion. All right.
I've heard of it. I've heard of it.
Chongqing Mansion was infamous for hostels and guest houses. I tried to stay clear of it because they're a little dubious about some stuff in there and so on.
Yeah.
Cool place. I go there to eat Indian food all the time. But yeah, so if you're smart, you lived in a guest house. You'd save some money. You know, if you had a girlfriend with high taste, sometimes they, you know, drain your bank account.
They'll drain your bank account.
Yeah, you know, if you
because you're not making a lot of money. You're foreign, and you know, what were the nightlife like in Hong Kong in those times? Like, are we talking what 80s here?
Yeah, we're talking the 80s. Actually, it's I always have a story I like to reflect on. As an average Westerner, if you try to chat up a local girl, it's very hard, especially in a nightclub. Okay, and there were certain bars where Westerners would go. There was a place called Hot Gossip, as an example. And, you know, sometimes as a Westerner, you get a little bored. You don't have that big of a social circle. So one night I went to Hot Gossip by myself. And as it happened, because I'm a member of Eddie Myers, there's a fella there named Chai Bo. And Chai Bo shows up in all these Jackie Chan movies and all these other movies. And he's usually in as a small comedic role. And I was like, yeah, that guy shows up all the time. But I see him at Eddie Myers, and he's always friendly because I'm this white guy that can bust out wushu moves. And so as I'm walking into Hot Gossip, I see Chai Bo, and he's, oh, Bruce! And he's come with an entourage, and he's got a convertible Mercedes, and I'm just waiting to get into the bar. Yeah. Oh, you come join us. That night, we went to just about every nightclub, disco in the Jim Sa Joy area. Never once waited in line. As I would walk in, something that never happened to me. Doesn't matter how well I groomed myself or how well I dressed, ladies were checking me out.
Because you were with these guys?
With these guys.
Ooh,
now,
okay.
So later, I go home and I see Oscar, and I'm talking to Oscar, and I reflect the story. He goes, you don't know who Chai Bo is? I says, he's the actor. He says, no, he's like the major triad in Jim Sa Joy. He oversees that district.
That area and those.
Therefore,
wow.
No waiting in lines, no paying for your drinks. All the drinks were free.
Hold on. Can I rewind just a little bit? What's his name? Chai Bo?
Chai Bo.
Is that the guy in Dragons Forever who is on the ship when he had that with Jackie Chan and he had the metal rod in his hand?
Yeah, I think that's the one. He's
Chai Bo. He's in every Jackie Chan movie.
Yeah, in those days.
Yes, madam. He is a character in Yes, Madam.
You've got a far better memory for these. I would not. Oh, sorry.
When they picked her up at the airport, Cynthia Rothrock, he was one of those cops who was talking trash behind her back, and he called her. Okay. Yeah, that's Chai Bo.
Yeah, that's Chai Bo.
Okay.
Then what I subsequently learned was a lot of the guys were playing bit parts.
Yes, they were triads.
Yeah, we used to.
Can I interrupt? Do the triads actually control the film industry back then in Hong Kong? Okay. Can you talk about that? Is that something?
I don't think they're going to come and get me. It's been 30 years.
Let's say, I don't know.
We used to joke, especially with the low-budget films, we were in a movie that was essentially made to launder drug money. Okay? Back then, they didn't have the big cineplexes, right? They were largely mom and pop theaters.
Yes.
So of course we do a film. We want to see ourselves.
Yeah.
We go to the film and we go, there's nobody here. But then the movie report is making big money.
Laundering.
Yeah.
Laundry.
Right.
Okay.
And then we were on a couple sets. For example, I don't want to name names, but one guy had a lot of the Westerners would double or triple book.
Yes.
A lot of times they'd cancel you at the last minute. There's not like here where you get paid if they cancel.
Of course.
There, they cancel, you're screwed, right? And if you gave up work, thinking I'm booked
You're
tomorrow.
booked.
And then I tell another job I can't do it.
Yes.
You're out both, obviously.
Whoa.
So that happened a lot. And
Why did that happen? Just the way it was done, or you guys were just?
in terms of them canceling us,
Yes.
it's just how they worked.
That's how they operate.
And they didn't care. There were numerous
There were
times-
no unions. There were no one who stand up and be like, "Hey,
no.
my guy's
They
getting
now
paid."
have the Hong Kong Stuntman Association, but it doesn't function the way a union
A
would in
union
Canada or
functions
the
here.
States.
Yes. Yes.
So they could literally cancel on you at the last minute. I had one company literally say, "We want to book you this day, and then the next week we're going to book you 2 days." And then I'd get close and they'd cancel me. Oh, we're just cancel one day, but we'll work again next week. And I get another company call me and say, "Well, I'm booked." And then they'd still cancel you. Then I'd go, "You guys canceled me and I lost another job." And they'd say, "Well, you're free to work now." And but I'm out the money, right? That's just how it was. It's
That's
just the way it was. But yeah, forgot our discussion for a second there.
About the triads.
Yeah, the triads. Sorry. But yeah.
Are you sure that's something you okay?
Well, what happened one time? Sorry, that's what I was going to say. The double booking.
Yes.
So this one fella books one show, books the other show. It turns out they both go through, and we're on set for the IFD company, the company that splices old movies into new movies. And basically, a bunch of gangster type looking thugs
Yes.
show up on set. They grab this one Caucasian guy, hustle him into the car. There's some back and forth between a boss and
Yes.
whoever the guy in the car repping the other film company.
Yes.
And it was like he was booked on.
So
our
wait. To get past that being canceled, he double booked.
He double booked. Well, because a lot of the guys would do that.
Yes.
Right. I didn't catch on till later.
So one fails, you
You're
can
still gonna get something.
you still get
right.
Oh.
And then he basically, the fella that did this was on this lower budget thing with us.
Yes.
And he was like, "Oh, those guys always cancel. So, if it didn't work out, at least I'm still getting this."
Yes.
So, but as it was, both shows went. And some gangster triad types showed up and
Came and snatched him off this set, being like,
so to speak. I mean, there was some dialogue
yeah,
between the boss for the
the
show that we
producers,
were on,
directors of
and
each,
them.
yeah,
And then it was like, all right, we got to shoot around this missing foreigner
yeah,
for the day because he's been yanked
yes,
because that triad is bigger influence or whatever.
yeah. We can't mess
I
with
mean,
these guys.
And then it happened even with some of the Hong Kong stars.
Really?
Well, some of the Hong Kong stars, they also had a similar policy where they book multiple shows. And I actually had one time where I was booked on 3 shows,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just the way it worked out. I worked an entire week without going home to bed. Like
What?
The way the scheduling worked out, and I wanted the money,
Yep.
I would literally get off one show, go right to the next show. I'd go from that show to the next show, and it played out for a full
Do
week.
people sleep in their cars? I've heard
I
Andy
slept-
Lau
I
said he
s- yeah.
slept in his car. Like,
Because you're with the stunt people,
Yeah.
generally, they always had their idea of a crash mat was basically a bed mattress,
yes,
a thin foam one.
Yeah.
So I'd be catching naps any chance I got because I knew this is going to kill me, but I'm going to make a huge amount of money in a short time. But yeah, so back to what we're saying, the triads sometimes do this to the bigger stars because they book several shows.
Mm-hmm.
And there was an actor that I did a film with. It took them literally half a year to finish a show because this guy had so many shows booked, right? And I'd
Wow.
be like, his schedule got changed, so you got to wait. Yeah, that's just kind of the way the actors work. They want to get as much money in a short time as they can, and the producers got to work around it. And if the producer's got good connections, he calls a triad guy to pull that guy from that set to that set.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you were there at that time, like, so who were some of the stars that you like worked with, that people you saw before when you were like, whoa?
Of course, there's Jackie Chan. I did a movie called Curry and Pepper. It's kind of a buddy cop film.
Was that Sammo Hung? Who was that?
Stephen Chow,
Stephen.
Kung Fu Hustle.
Wait, Stephen. He was around back then.
Oh, he did a lot of films back then. A lot of films. That's what is kind of coming up. He established himself as a kind of a comedy guy.
Yeah.
He was paired with a Hong Kong pop star named Jackie Chan. And Jackie Chan and Stephen Chow did a buddy cop film. So I was working with them. I knew who Jackie was because the lady I was dating, he's a pop star.
Yes.
And Stephen Chow had just started to become very popular, and Korean Pepper was kind of like a hit for him. In fact, I made billboards because there was a shot with me and Jackie Chow that they put on billboards everywhere. Anyways, that was kind of a big deal because they were quite popular at the time. I worked with basically all of the female super cops, the Girl with Gun era, Moon Lee. I'm sure you know who Moon Lee is.
Of course, Moon Lee.
Right? Cynthia Khan.
Right. Yukari Oshima.
I didn't fight her. Those other women I did fights
The
with.
Vengeance Quartet. Oh my God.
Yeah. Classic. But I worked on a film that Yukari was in.
Yeah.
That's the film where I got fired. But that's not the other film I got fired. Different film where I got fired, the one called Outlaw Brothers. Okay? There's a story there that most of the fan types.
I had a huge crush on, is it Michiko Nishiwaki?
I worked with her a couple times.
Twinkle Twinkle Luck. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was her introduction. Yeah,
she lives in California now. I think she's out in California. So you? Okay, so one of my favorite series was in the Line of Duty.
Yeah.
You worked on that.
Yeah, the little bit of a story. They completed the film. They decided there wasn't enough action. I got a call. A bunch of us went up and auditioned. I got the part, and I was told they basically wanted this to put in the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And I did a fight with Cynthia Khan. As it was, I knew Cynthia Khan from Eddie Meyer's gym, and I would see her literally daily.
Yeah.
Never spoke a word. Never like, oh, hi.
Yeah.
You know, and then suddenly we're on set together.
Wow.
Right?
You guys have trailers back then?
No, nobody had trailers. In fact, I changed in the street many a time. Like literally
Okay,
just changed my clothes
hold
in
on.
the street.
I need a pause on that one.
Yeah.
In Hong Kong, come on. Okay, Jackie Chan, not to jump ahead. Jackie Chan had a
was
trailer.
the only one where there was a trailer.
Yes.
And it was a communal trailer. Literally every department operated out of that trailer. It was hair and makeup. It was wardrobe. It was
Is
production.
that a lack of money or just a lack of ego? Because in Hollywood, man,
it's I think a lack of money, right? Over there, they typically didn't use trailers. Like I did 30 features, I never saw a trailer. Okay, you know, if they had, let's say, an indoor location, they'd allocate a green room, as we would call it. But it's just something that was never an expectation, right? You know, and the one that we had, that one time we had the trailer, it was literally just a communal trailer, and it was only for one scene. In fact, for the 65 days I shot, that trailer was at one location for maybe 2 weeks, right?
Wow.
And it's a different world there. The hierarchy's different. Everything's different in terms of how they film, like certain ways they shoot. I never saw executed in Canada. For example, we never did, at least in action, master shots. I didn't know what a master shot was. They shoot everything in pieces. They don't do tons of coverage. They're very good at what I call edit in the head. So they would literally say, I need this, and then we're going to cut, and we're going to move over here. I never once learned a fight in its entirety. I learned a small piece of the fight. We shot it moments later, right? Then they would say, you're going to overlap the last move or two to help us with the edit, and then we're going to shoot the next piece. And that's literally how they did it. So it's very different how everything is done over there.
So the movie making process is not, so basically in North America, we're just spoiled. Like, I'm like, you sort of look at my face like, you don't have a trail, like.
Well, you know, when I first came back here, I worked on a TV series, Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
And I'll try to keep it brief, but the very first day I worked, it was a rehearsal. And I asked a guy I knew there named Dean, I said, where's the camera crew? Where's the lighting guys? He says, rehearsal. I said, okay, but where's the camera team? He says, no, we're just rehearsing for the whole day. And I was like, what? I couldn't fathom that.
You're getting paid, and it's
and so
rehearsing.
at the end of the day, I just did what I was told because I'm just, a hired hand.
Wow.
And then the second day we come back, the camera team's there, director's there, and he says, all right, we're going to shoot a wide master from here. And I leaned over to Dean. I said, what's a master? And we're about to do a fight. He goes, we shoot the whole thing at one time. You shoot the whole thing at one time? That's not going to work. How does that work? I couldn't understand it because I'd never shot a fight in its entirety. We shot pieces, and they were very good at picking their shots. And they also understood how they were going to cut it.
Yeah.
Over there, that was the way they did it, because it's
Okay.
how it developed. And I kind of looked at it in hindsight, because when I first came by, I thought, oh, what a bunch of idiots. This is stupid. They don't know anything. But in hindsight now, about how it was shot here with the U.S. companies, it's just how it developed.
So what's the best experience you've had in a project over there, or the hardest in that order?
The ones where I was getting cheated, because I had a couple times where just a quick story, I think this third movie I did was called Casino Raiders. And I got hired first through a talent agent. And they basically hired me and said, you're getting 800 Hong Kong per day, which is not much. It was far below what became the norm for us. And she said, we're taking 15%. I'm, okay, fine. We shot for a week. Then the production manager comes up to me and says, Bruce, we're going to need you for an extra week. And I said, well, you know, you're paying me kind of cheap. We should talk about the rate. And the girl that was part of that company named Lena was never there. And they go, 800. And I said, you guys are paying me 800 a day. And then they said to me, we're paying 3,000 a day. So Lena, because the money filters through Lena,
Yeah.
she was taking 3,000, telling me it was only 800, and taking 15% out of that 800 and pocketing it all.
So she was making more money on your album than you made. No, okay. That's
Pretty
a
much.
rap. That's a rap phrase.
Yeah.
I'll make more money on your album than you. She was so basically. Okay. She was taking
Somewhere around
$3,200, and on top of the 800 that you're getting, she took 15% off of that.
Yeah.
So she was just basically, how many clients did she was making a killing?
I didn't know the other people's stories, because most of the people that were there were background. Right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of Westerners playing background, and usually background was really cheap.
Yeah, they get them for dimes.
Yeah, they get them out of the hostels and stuff, backpackers.
Wow.
In my case, I could do the martial arts stuff, and that's what they wanted.
You had value, though. Why?
Well, it was more because they wanted a white guy that could do the Hong Kong style stuff.
Yes.
And that later, when all of us Westerners would get together and we talk about it, oh yeah, Pop Art, stay away from that. Was a company named Pop Art and Lena.
And you were not the only Westerner who was getting ripped. Were there local actors who were getting ripped off like that, or they knew they were in?
Okay, I can't say about the lower local actors, but there was a bit of what we would call under the table payola. Let's say you're a production manager, right, or the casting guy, and you approach a big Hong Kong star and say, hey, we want to put you in this movie, but I got this other guy. I could also put him in there, and you guys are kind of, same bankable asset level.
Yes.
Give me a little kickback. I'll make sure you get the part. So what would happen
So
is
that
that
was
star
rampant.
the star would say, okay, I'll give you, say, 100K. You pay me $500,000, like Hong Kong dollars, whatever the number was.
Yes.
Right? And that production manager, and this happened in a lot of departments. Okay.
Really?
Yeah. I had a friend, Malaysian Chinese friend. I shouldn't say I won't say his name, but we actually got through Jackie's company. They were going to give us $250,000 US to make our own film. And one of the first things my friend talked about is, we can make extra money by double billing, right? Or doing payola with different departments.
Yes.
Let's say, for example, you got a caterer, all right? You can say, caterer number 1, if you want this contract, you just put a little bit of money in my pocket.
Wow.
Or caterer number 2 is going to do that, so you got to do better, right?
Oh, you play them off against each other.
I worked, after the film business tanked,
Yes.
I went to work for a big trading company, and we used to do millions of shoes per year. Same thing. You'd go to the factory in China, and you'd say, hey, if you give me a little kickback into my pocket,
Corruption at its
I'll
best.
place your order, place this $1 million order in your factory,
Yes.
right? And this is not the big boss. The big boss back in the States, or the big boss in the Hong Kong Film Company, they didn't usually know, or they knew there was a little bit of it, but they just
They gotta
turned a
be.
blind
They got it at that
turned a
level.
blind
I think, of course.
Yeah.
They were
And-
probably getting their little bit of
Yeah.
change to kick
Yeah,
up.
I won't say which Westerner, but one of the Westerners became savvy to this.
Yes.
And on Operation Condor, he ended up getting paid a little bit more, right? And it was because he kicked back some of the money to one of the producers.
That's okay. I mean,
Well, but it's just how it's done.
that's just how it's done.
Yeah.
But so you've had all these experiences now. What other projects would you say that you were on that you can look back on with fond memories, or just like?
Yeah, so there were obviously the ones where, like I said, I was unhappy. And it usually had to do with getting cheated or them not fulfilling what they promised.
Yes.
You know, a lot of times I'd have to chase for money. There were times where we would literally show up at the accountant's office.
How long did it take? Like, so when you get here, it takes 2 weeks, right, before you see your first? Because if you're working in how long? What would the period where?
It varied. It varied. Like, they'd say, yeah, we'll pay you within a week or so. Sometimes it'd be 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I go, where the hell is my
You have to
money?
go pick up your check. How did that work? Or did it come in the mail? Like,
No. You usually go pick up your check, but you get a call to say you can come get your check.
yes,
But sometimes they stall you.
after your 15% cut out of it. And
Well,
then
that's different. But it's just that sometimes they take a long time, or
Yes.
they give you a down payment, say a third of your.
You ever
money.
get cash? Was it a cash deal, or it's always a check?
No, it's always a check. Always a
Okay.
check. But sometimes they book you, and then they take like 6 months before they finish the movie. Right? I remember I grew my hair out.
Wait. You hold on. You get paid after the movie is done.
No. You get a deposit.
You get a
on
deposit.
If you had a bigger role that
Yes.
required more days,
Mm-hmm.
you could negotiate a deposit.
Yes.
Right? If ideally the movie's done,
Yes.
you got your deposit, so you know you got the money in the bank, and then you're getting your paychecks once they start.
Yes.
Right? That's the ideal scenario. But sometimes you get your deposit, and the movie still hasn't started 3 months later.
What?
Yeah. So you're going, I got all this money from you, and then their understanding was, if you cancel, meaning me, I got to give them the deposit back.
Oh, so that
And
was
so
the
if you
contract.
paid your rent
Yes.
based on that money,
If
and
that's
then
all you
and
had,
yeah, and
you
that's
better.
yeah,
You
So
better.
oftentimes you're in these kind of awkward conundrums. Where you go, oh, fudge, what I'm going to do,
Yeah.
right?
So you make yourself available, come
and-
hell or high water.
Yeah, but sometimes it's just you're always watching your back.
Yes.
But for the movies, it was often the good ones was either you're working with someone like, say, Jackie or Sammo, who's an
Yeah.
icon that you admired and respected, and you want to learn something, or sometimes it's just the people.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes you get on set and the people are just great. Sometimes got to travel.
Yeah.
Right. There was a couple movies I got to travel. One of them you've got in the queue is King of the Kickboxers.
Yes.
And I was working on Operation Condor, and Jackie.
They shot at the same time, around the same
Well,
time.
it was around the same time, and Yuen had something to do with King of the Kickboxers. I didn't know at the time, but Jackie approaches me on set and says, "I'm letting you go for a couple days. It's for my brother Corey."
So they called him and be like, "Hey, we need Bruce to come over."
Because I'd worked with Corey on another film. All the people in Hong Kong knew that. They said basically Jackie ate up all the Westerners, was what everybody was saying.
for his
film,
Operation Condor.
right?
Yeah.
So I was on that, and apparently what happened was Corey calls Jackie and says, "I'd like Bruce to go work on King of the Kickboxers." And I didn't know much. All I knew was I'm going to Thailand. And Jackie basically said, "I'm giving you a few days off."
Yeah.
He says, "Don't fuck around. Don't get in trouble. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. It's Thailand, Bangkok."
Yes.
Right? He says, "When you finish, you fly right back."
Yeah.
And he basically cut me loose for the day or two. I flew to Thailand and shot that kickboxer, King of the Kickboxer.
King of the Kick. That movie, I remember seeing that movie, watching that movie in the theater. And again, that was one of those movies for me where you watch Hong Kong stuff, but it was so brutal. Billy Blanks, like that guy was just like, I was just like, he was cast as the monster.
Yeah.
He is the monster, the
Pretty
boogeyman.
much.
He's in the new Black Creek with Cynthia Rothrock. Is it Black Creek? It's called.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know Cynthia's.
Yeah, I saw a promo thing with him the
Cynthia's,
other day.
Yeah, trying to get that out there. And
Yeah,
bringing in a lot
she's
of
working hard.
It's kind of like an Expendables of the old martial arts stars.
in the Old West,
Yeah,
so to speak.
yeah, set in the old West.
Yeah, set in the Old West. Absolutely. absolutely.
Yeah.
But so I haven't done this movie. At that point, you were kind of established and
In
like
Hong Kong.
known around like
Kong.
town, yeah, Hong Kong, and you were hanging out with other guys who were like in the same position like you. You guys,
Yeah.
did you guys have a special club that you guys went to, or you hung out with the local like?
Okay.
Is that like a good story
Yeah.
in that one?
Well, there's a couple of things. So there was the fellows that I met in China.
Yeah.
Dan Mintz, Ken Goodman. I'm sorry, I'm missing. Oh, Jeff Falcon.
Yes.
There was a couple other guys. Vincent Lin. He's known for the bad guy role at the end of Operation Condor and a few other films.
Yeah.
There's a British fella named Mark Houghton. Other people I'm probably missing.
I always
a few
thought he
names
was
here.
German. He looks German, don't he?
No, he's definitely British. Anyways, we all hung out.
Yeah.
We all bonded. We all became best of friends.
Mm-hmm.
Seldom a day went by where we didn't hook up with at least one or two of us getting together.
Yeah.
Right. We had certain places we'd go. We actually booked space at a badminton court in Kowloon Park
Mm-hmm.
for us to train. After a couple of weeks, word got around. We had Jackie Chan stunt team, Yuen Woo stunt team. I don't know if you remember the movie Operation Scorpio, little Korean guy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
He was there. All the Hong Kong stunt guys were there.
Yeah.
And we'd all just be practicing tumbling, kicking,
Yeah.
jumping,
Just condition
fight
staying in.
stuff.
Yeah.
And
You guys trained more than you actually like work, right? Because you had to
to
keep.
be honest, yeah. If you weren't working, you were training.
You were training,
right?
okay.
Because it was very competitive, and all of us, we knew we were competitive with each other.
Yes.
But there seemed to be this just understanding. Whoever gets apart gets apart.
I
We
wanted to
never had
ask you a
problem.
question though. Did you? Yeah, because the whole competition thing. Because you got all the white guys over there. Were there any black guys with you guys at that point?
Okay,
Who
so
was there? Black guys.
there wasn't a huge amount of them.
Yes.
Black guys. In Operation Condor, there's a guy named Kundi.
Yes.
He's actually from Madagascar, but grew up in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
Had his heavy French accent. Super
Yeah.
nice guy. He started training with us at Kowloon Park.
Yeah.
He did a few films. I did one with him called Fun and Fury. He played in that, and he did a couple other ones that I wasn't part of.
Mm-hmm.
He just kind of fell into it. He was actually a dance teacher. He did we're talking I think he toured with Can't Touch This, MC Hammer. Right?
Oh, he was like a hip hop background
Yeah,
dancer.
Exactly. And
How did
he'd done like a Janet Jackson tour or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Nation, what is it? Janet Jackson is
Rhythm Nation.
Rhythm
Rhythm Nation. Yeah.
He was part of that.
Mm-hmm.
But he got brought to Hong Kong to train the dancers for the concerts.
Yes.
And the guy can move.
Okay.
Right?
So he has rhythm and
We used to say film fighting wasn't real fighting; it was dancing.
yeah.
Even Jackie said this is more like a dance,
Yes.
right? Because you've got a partner, you're trying to create an illusion,
Yes.
right, of a fight.
Yeah.
But you're not. You have to partner up and understand your marks, understand the rhythm between you guys, safety, etc. So Kundi was really good. There was another fellow.
Did he adapt to it like really quickly because of the built-in rhythm?
He did. He didn't get as much opportunity
Yes.
because I think I'm only speculating. Everyone knew he was a dancer,
Yes.
right? And he would come and train with us to work on the fights and the
Yeah.
reaction. But to my knowledge, he didn't do too much fighting.
What about Peter Cunningham? Because when I saw
Now,
him,
Peter Cunningham actually is before my time. Peter Cunningham got brought in for
above the law.
was shot before I arrived there,
Okay.
right? Then there was God, he's going to hate me for not remembering. There's this fella, I'm struggling with the name, and I talked to him on Facebook a lot. Kill me now. He was under Sammo Hung.
Yes.
And he's going to hate me for this. Forgive me. Anyways, I can't remember his name right now, but he
It's cool.
did a movie with. But he was like, I only met him once. We passed each other. He was hanging with a friend
Yes.
named Mike Leader,
Yep.
and we passed each other. Oh, hey, nice to meet you. We all knew he was with Sammo, but
Yes.
he only did a couple films, and it was kind of like he stayed with that little entourage.
Yes, yes.
Then actually, now that we're talking about the black guys, there was a fellow named Michael Woods.
Michael
Similar
Woods,
scenario.
yes. Yeah.
He just stuck with Donnie. Donnie had his little entourage.
So it's very cliquey then, because
Some of them.
like
Some of them.
growing up watching the movies in Hong Kong, like I said, I had this dream, like, hey, one day I would love to do that. Of course, never made it, but I wanted to see people who look like me, because I'm like, I know it would be really crazy, like you see a black guy in a kung fu film, or you see, and there was this other guy, I can't remember his name, who did with Billy Cheung, I mentioned.
Yeah, that's way back.
That's
He's
even in the
quite old
70s.
now.
Yeah, he must be like 80 or something now.
He's got to be late 70s. I know who he is. I'm Facebook friends with him, actually.
Yeah, I don't know his name, but that guy, he was the first guy that I saw, and I'm like, whoa. And then I saw Peter Cunningham, and he did that Above the Law scene where he played the assassin, and I'm like, okay, so they're all black guys over there doing that. I kind of felt a little.
There was another fellow, Winston Ellis, but he did, because there was a guy named Philip Kofe. He did a lot of films in the Philippines.
Yes.
And he did a film called
Philip lived there, didn't he? He kind of moved there and lived there.
I think he actually got stuck there. I don't know all the story, but I heard he couldn't come back to Hong Kong or something. I might be wrong. Okay.
We can guess why.
Well, anyway, so Winston Ellis was another guy. He's now back in the UK. He's originally from the UK.
Okay. He was really tall, wasn't he? That's the guy from Book of Heroes?
Yeah. The thing with, funny story, Winston Ellis would hang out with Mark Houghton a lot.
Yes.
And Mark Houghton and another friend of mine also named Mark King would hang out a lot. And I didn't know who Winston Ellis was personally. I knew about him, but I had never met him. And there's another fella, a Caucasian guy that fights in Black Mask. I can't remember his name right now. A Caucasian guy, really good with the Taekwondo. Mark King and Mark Houghton see me walking to my apartment one day, and I'm just coming back. This is when the film business kind of died, and I have a regular job. And they get Winston Ellis, and I can't remember the other guy's name. Is killing me. I've forgotten a few names here. They kind of approach in a weird way, walking down the street, and then they just run and grab me and pin me to the wall, and they pull their fist back, and they start, we're going to beat the crap out of you. And I'm like, dudes, what's going on here? All of a sudden I hear this. Mark Houghton's got a very distinct laugh. Like,
he told him to set you up, like, see if you
that was my one time, honestly,
yourself.
Meeting Winston Ellis.
Yes.
Right, because he's like,
he is tall in the movies. He towered above everyone, and he can. Did that over on the? Is it called on the cranking when you speed it up?
But when they film, they would do a thing called under cranking where they would shoot, on average, 18 frames versus 24.
Yes.
So when it goes back to the regular play rate of 24, it makes everything much faster.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I did a movie called Angel Terminators, and they really had me doing a lot of kicking.
Yes.
And I think they probably went to 16, right, as opposed to 18 frames. And I remember looking in the theater going, if I could kick that fast in real life, I think my knees would explode.
But it looks powerful.
It looks powerful, it looks fast. Yeah. And it's something they've always done.
But you can always tell, like, it looks almost cartoonish sometimes.
Sometimes it gets very,
in
like a lot
Book
of
of
Jet Li
Heroes.
films. They do
Yes, it's like, I remember in Book of Heroes, I'm like, that guy he can't possibly move that fast.
Yeah. And even some of the Donnie Yen films, they did that.
With the kicking, was it Wolf, something called Wolf?
Oh,
Legend
Legend of the Wolf or something like that.
Yes, it was just like he was fighting this guy, and
in the forest.
Oh my God! And the hand, it just seemed like clashing hands. After and the sound, it was just like that's not so realistic at all.
Yeah, sometimes they just went overkill.
Wow.
They needed to find a balance.
Interesting. So can we take a look at the Operation Condor, the Jackie Chan? Because I'm really feeling like, for me, I met Jackie Chan one time, and he's the only actor or celebrity I've ever asked for an autograph.
Okay, yeah.
Because he was Jackie Chan. He is Jackie Chan.
Yeah, he's an icon.
And I remember meeting him in New York, and I was so stunned because I know in the movies, I mean, by any stretch of the imagination, he's not tall in the movies, but I was so shocked. He was so short. He's like 5'1".
Jackie?
Yeah.
Are you thinking of Jet Li? Jackie's about my height.
No.
Yeah, he's 5'8". 5'9", somewhere around
No.
there. Yeah, he is.
Okay, we gotta.
Your memory's not
Probably
serving
I was
you.
taller. Probably I'm getting. I don't know. I'm shrinking in my
In fact,
maturity.
in the clip, if my memory serves me, the clip that you'll show,
Yes.
you'll see him and I have a little tiny exchange, and we stand facing each other.
Yeah.
He's roughly my height.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. It's just for me. I met him, and I remember like thinking, "Oh my God, he's so short." So short, and I asked him for his autograph. So this is back then. I was working at ABC Television. Where was it ABC? Anyway, Regis and Kathy Lee. I was working at ABC Television at the time in New York, and I heard Jackie Chan was going to be doing an interview. So of course I left my job and I ran down. I'm waiting in the parking garage or whatever, and he came out and he was very friendly and very open. You can actually go check out the clip. Nicole, would you pull it up?
So this is Operation Condor, probably the best of my experiences in Hong Kong. This was essentially.
Where did you guys shoot that? Where was that?
This is at Shaw Brothers in a studio they had built.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, this was the most expensive Hong Kong film made. It was $30 million US.
Whoa.
Which at the time was quite a big budget for them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, there's me with Jackie. Yeah, this film, I learned a lot that I didn't get to learn on other film sets. Jackie's a perfectionist, and he
Yes.
will do certain things over and over.
How many takes? I mean, working on this, how many takes have you seen?
This is the legend stuff, but in the hotel scene, there's a little piece of like a wooden post that he flips up with his feet in kind of a Jackie Chan way that hits me in the head.
Yeah.
That was about 30 takes. Then he did another shot where my colleague in the film, a guy named Ken Goodman, had a beard in that hotel scene. Jackie takes a kind of a hairpin out of one of the actress's hair and propels it.
Ava's, yeah.
And he hits Ken in the face. It's a prop. It's soft.
Yes.
But he did 90 takes. Well, everyone there that kind of knew at the time used to say Jackie gets a blank check because they know
He's Jackie Chan.
Well, he's Jackie Chan, but they know they're going to recoup the money in, say, just Japan.
Yes.
Because Japan's a huge market for him, and because he does his stuff to a much higher caliber, they're going to pay for it.
Yes.
There's a certain expectation. Other film companies can't afford to do 30, 60, 90 takes or more that he likes to do.
Yes.
And it's pretty much, at least back then, it was all practical, right? And they expect it. And the company knows that he'll get a much better product out there than, say, these lower budget companies that I often work for. Like the female super cop films, we do more takes and we spend more time on the action than we would have filmed here. But they're not spending the time that Jackie would. Like, we did the hotel scene. That was 28 days for me, right? In that hotel scene.
28 days.
Yeah, and it's maybe 10 minutes of screen time.
Yeah, that's
something you can make a feature.
You can make 2 features.
Yeah,
in 28 days.
well, if you're Hallmark, right?
Hey, a couple of times I had to depend on Hallmark to make a living. I don't know, Bruce.
I'm
kidding.
Yeah.
I do. I shouldn't put this. I wouldn't say what I want to say in camera. That's not cool because you never know. We're in a strike right now.
They're known for cranking out films in a very short time.
Yeah.
But that's never been Jackie's kind of way he operates.
But Jackie Chan, he said in a couple of interviews that he gets frustrated when he works in Hollywood because they don't know how to, and they don't want to listen to him either, right? Because he's trying to say, hey, guys, put the camera over here. Trust me. I know how to capture the scene. And they're like, no, we just do cover. It's like, and he would just get...
And it shows. If you're a connoisseur of the Hong Kong style of action...
They've perfected that style.
You can see it when you go to a Hollywood film.
Yes.
Like I would say the John Wick people, 8711, they're very good at what they do. They're not doing the same thing, but they're very good at what they do. And it's...
But they're students of the Hong Kong style.
Yeah. And what they give you is still very satisfying.
Yes.
If you watch, say, Bourne Identity, I'm sorry, I can't watch Bourne Identity. I like Matt Damon.
They shoot it like Korean action film, like
shaky camera.
You know what you.
But well, here's the thing. Sometimes it depends on the type of film you're watching. You don't need to see every little piece of the action and just a perfect frame and just a perfect cutting. Sometimes they just need to know good guy beat up bad guy. You know, like for my mother, if she watches, say, Jackie Chan or Scott Adkins or John Wick, she's not going to know the difference when she watches like a lower end, poorly shot action film.
Absolutely.
She's not going to know the difference. And we're in what I call the 3% geek factor. We are the people who go, oh, no. Jackie would have shot that, or Donnie would have done that better, or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's, in fact, actually, when he did Rush Hour, his first assistant director is a person I've been friends with for many years, named Fong.
Yeah.
And Fong, I had moved back to Canada when they're shooting. He actually called me and said, "Hey, how you doing?" We're talking about Rush Hour. And he said, "Jackie's pulling his hair out," because the guy Brett Weinstein, I think, was still quite...
Brett Ratner?
Ratner, sorry, yes. Wrong name. Brett Ratner.
Weinstein.
Brains crossing. Brett Ratner was still new as a film director. I don't think he'd done too much.
He did commercials and music. He actually think he started doing music videos.
Yeah. So he was doing tons of coverage. Jackie doesn't do tons of coverage. He says, "I only need this.
Yeah.
I don't need..." Because here they want to do a lot of coverage.
Yes.
And he said, "I don't need it. I know this is what I want." They have a certain conviction. Because they, as we always used to say, edit and add.
Yes.
So Jackie, pretty much knows what he wants, knows how he wants.
But he wasn't listening to Jackie because he's like, "Hey, man,
well, that's the thing.
What do you know?"
When he got on the American set,
I
remember Fong saying to me that Brett said, "Oh, this is how we do it in Hollywood." And I remember thinking, this guy's only done a couple of music
But
videos.
Jackie Chan was getting paid a shitload of money. But also it's his image as well. I can understand why.
For him, it was a big film.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Rush Hour, to be honest, I've never been a big fan of those films. I understand for a general audience, they enjoy it.
1 was good. 2 was really funny. 3, sorry.
Yeah.
I hate to say
honestly,
they're doing 4.
I know, and I can't even remember 3. I've seen them all.
You don't remember it, even if you...
I'm comparing them to movies like, Project A.
Yes.
Pirate movies.
Oh my God, both.
Right? The Clock Tower Fall would never happen in Hollywood.
No, not at all.
The police stories, the originals especially. That jump down the pole.
That wouldn't
the thing on the buses.
No wires.
Yeah, all practical would never happen in Hollywood. The fights that he just say, like in Miracle, in the rope factory.
Yeah, that wouldn't happen either.
The time that they had to spend on that, they would never do that in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Because except for the John Wick people, the 8711 team, for many Hollywood productions, the action is an afterthought.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I've been on so many shows, Canadian, American type shows, where they'd say, "Okay, go make up something for us." We'd say, design a fight scene. You'd get to set. They'd talkie head. We only have an hour to shoot this fight. So you got to compress everything that you choreographed, work with the actor, try to work with the DP, and DPs here function very differently from Hong Kong DPs.
Yeah.
2 different beasts. And they usually look like crap. I'm going to say, honestly, I think most of the stuff that I've seen and done here is crap. I got hired to do a Smallville episode where they said, "We want Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon." And I literally, because I don't give a shit, I don't care, I literally said to the producer-director types, and even the stunt coordinator brought me in, I said, "Do you want Crouching Tiger or do you want Crouching Tiger?" They go, "What do you mean?" I said, "It's not just the choreography. It's the framing, the edit, it's knowing how it's going to look, right? And not just shooting a ton of coverage."
Yes.
Never listen to me.
They never do. Because that thing they know better.
Yeah. And,
this is how we do it here. What do you know?
And you've got, and I heard one guy say this recently, you've got a director who may not know action, who's got a vision.
They usually don't know. Not may not. They usually don't know.
Well, I'm trying to benefit of doubt.
You've been kind.
A DP who's more concerned about the lighting.
Which is his job, yes.
I get that. But they oftentimes...
But he doesn't know how to light for action, though.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Talking head is easy to do.
I've been on sets where you got the 2 guys squaring off.
Yeah.
They're going to run a master, and they're concerned about the hair light in the beginning of the shot. Right? And I'm going, the hair light's going to be like a split second on camera, and you're worried about the hair light?
Yeah.
Right?
Bruce, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
for
you.
coming out. It was a great evening. I learned a lot. I mean, we've been friends for a while. I've heard some of the stories, but I will tell you this. When you come back next time, we have to talk about
My films?
your films,
Oh,
of
okay.
course.
Yeah.
Beyond Redemption was a film that came out. Was it in Netflix or was it in Prime?
It's we had a U.S. distributor. We have a U.S. distributor, Wellgo USA.
Yes.
They specialize more in the Asian content that comes from Hong Kong, China,
Yep.
Korea.
Yep.
They took our film. We did various pay platforms. We eventually made it to Netflix. That's the one that most people go, oh my God, you made it to Netflix
Yeah,
with your
yeah.
micro-budget film. It's currently on Apple Plus.
Okay, so in the
Google Plus,
Google
Apple
Plus,
TV,
okay.
Apple TV, and Tubi.
So we're gonna get links. We're gonna put links to those to the movies in the comment section in the bottom. And if, as a viewer, if you got value from this episode, again, go down, subscribe, like, comment if you have to. And Bruce's work, his past work, his current work, his work that's gonna be, that he's done already. You can check it also. We're gonna have links in the bottom in the comment section to check it out. But Bruce has to come back. He definitely got to come back, and I have to ask him. I haven't asked him. I'm just setting him up right now. Just basically saying he's going to come back, and he will say yes, hopefully.
Yeah,
so you are going to come back.
Of course.
All right. Thank you very much, brother. Good one.
Cheers.
Thank you. All right.